shriek of tires slicing across asphalt snapped me out of my morning routine. From behind the living room window, I watched in disbelief as 3 police cruisers pulled in fast, boxing off our driveway in a V formation. Their flashing lights bathed the front yard in an urgent pulse of red and blue, strobing across the quiet facades of Willow Creek Estates. My stomach clenched. I bolted for the door, but what I saw outside made my breath catch. There, standing at the edge of our lawn, was Margaret Whitfield, the reigning monarch of the HOA, waving her arms like she was directing traffic at a crash site. She was flanked by officers, her voice pitched for maximum drama. "I'm telling you," she said, pointing at my wife. "She just got back from Iran. Look at her, she's clearly bringing something dangerous into our community." Isla stood tall and still in the driveway. Her hands were visible, her stance deliberate. The same practiced calm she'd honed over a decade and a half in federal service wrapped around her like armor. One of the officers, a barrel-chested sergeant, approached her with measured steps. His partner hovered nearby, fingers twitching near his holster. "Ma'am," the sergeant said, keeping his tone even, "we received a report of potential threats and suspicious materials delivered to this address. We'll need to see identification and ask you a few questions." Isla nodded slowly and reached into her jacket with deliberate precision. What she pulled out changed everything. The badge caught the sunlight. That gold eagle emblem silenced the lawn. Agent Layla Morrison, Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, Senior Operations Director, International Arms Division. The sergeant's spine straightened immediately. The skepticism evaporated from his face. "Agent Morrison," he said quickly, "my apologies, we were acting on a citizen's report." "I understand, Sergeant," Isla said evenly, cutting through his excuse. "You followed up on a call. It's what you're supposed to do." Her gaze shifted, cool, precise, to Margaret, who had begun retreating step by cautious step toward her picket line property. "Though I am interested in the specific contents of that report." 3 weeks earlier, Isla had returned from an 8-month classified deployment. She called me from Dulles, her voice exhausted but firm, letting me know she'd arrive in the middle of the night. When the black SUV rolled up at 2 a.m. and 2 agents helped unload her gear, Margaret must have made her first note in whatever paranoid little logbook she kept. In Willow Creek, lawns were trimmed to regulation height, and porch lights had curfew. Our quiet life, with its unusual rhythms and occasional government vehicles, had always unnerved her. Margaret Whitfield, ruler of HOA policy and pastel cardigans, had decided we were a threat long ago. It started with our midnight blue shutters, which she deemed too aggressive. Then it was Isla's work hours, the unmarked packages from her mother's spice shop in Michigan, and God help us, the occasional visit from a federal courier. In Margaret's mind, that all added up to espionage. She began a one-woman surveillance campaign. Walks past our house increased from daily to hourly. Photos of delivery drivers. Measurements of our trash bins at dawn. I even caught her pressing her ear to our front hedge one night. "She's hiding something," I overheard her whisper at the pool to Sandra Chan. "I saw her luggage, had Iranian stamps all over it. This is how they operate. Quiet at first, then boom." I tried diplomacy. Brought over a tray of Isla's homemade baklava as a peace offering. "She serves the country, Margaret," I said. "She's a federal officer." Margaret squinted at the dessert like I'd handed her a live grenade. "Serves the country," she muttered, "by cozying up with Iranians?" Things finally boiled over the previous Tuesday. Isla had been tasked with transporting a crate of decommissioned firearms, standard protocol for her division. The items were locked and secured per federal regulation, slated for destruction the next day. But when agents arrived to offload the crate into our garage for overnight storage, I saw Margaret behind her blinds, binoculars locked in. 40 minutes later, the cruisers arrived. The sergeant flipped through his notes now, expression unreadable. The report claimed armed agents were unloading weapons for storage in a residential neighborhood, he said. Caller alleged the resident might be involved in arms smuggling connected to Iranian terrorism cells? Isla gave a dry laugh. That crate contained decommissioned firearms, she said, scheduled for destruction, stored overnight in my federally approved safe. I have full authorization. She produced a folder, everything documented, signed, and sealed. The sergeant read through the paperwork. His partner lowered his hand from his holster and looked like he wanted to melt into the grass. Agent Morrison, this appears completely in order. I sincerely apologize for no apology needed from you, Isla said with quiet command. But I am concerned about false reports targeting federal personnel. That has consequences. Margaret, now ghost white, clutched her pearls like they might protect her. A cluster of neighbors had gathered across the street, phones recording silently. The sergeant turned to Margaret. His voice was colder now. Ma'am, knowingly filing a false report is a misdemeanor. 6 months in jail and a fine up to $1,000. But falsely accusing a federal agent during active duty, that's an entirely different matter.
I didn't know, Margaret cried, finally finding her voice. She never said anything. She comes and goes at night, speaks Farsi on the phone. And you never asked, I said, stepping outside. In 3 years, Margaret, you've never had a single, real conversation with us? You just assumed, invented your own story. Isla placed a hand on my arm, steadying me. Sergeant, she said, while I could pursue charges, I'm prepared to let this go, provided it ends here. I'll be filing formal complaints with both the police and the HOA board for harassment and discrimination. The fallout came fast. 2 weeks later, the HOA held an emergency meeting. The usually lifeless community center buzzed with anticipation. The room was packed. Margaret sat at the front table, flanked by her attorney, who looked like he regretted taking the case. Ted Simmons, the HOA treasurer, opened the proceedings. Margaret, he said, these are serious accusations. Agent Morrison has submitted substantial documentation. Surveillance photos, eyewitness statements, a transcript of your 911 call. Margaret's lawyer tried to argue concerned citizen, but when Isla read the report aloud, especially the parts about terrorist sympathies and Middle Eastern ties, the mood in the room shifted hard. And let's not forget the legal risk, Isla added, holding up another folder. By using her authority as board president while engaging in discriminatory behavior, Ms. Whitfield has placed the HOA at significant liability. The vote was unanimous. Margaret was removed as president that night. The legal dominoes didn't stop there. The police, after reviewing the call and incident footage, decided to pursue misdemeanor charges. The district attorney's office, ever alert to abuse involving federal agents, launched their own investigation. Then came the professional fallout. Margaret's job at Davidson Realty? Gone. Clients weren't eager to be associated with someone accused of harassment and filing false reports. The firm offered her a quiet transition. And the final blow, the civil suit. Initially, Isla had wanted to move on, but then Margaret's lawyer sent a letter implying that Isla had invited suspicion by accepting an Iran posting. That changed everything. $15,000 in damages, our attorney announced at mediation, plus legal fees. The Channel 7 crew was there when the ruling was announced. Margaret emerged from the courthouse looking wrecked, hair unkempt, eyes wide. 15,000, she whispered, like the number itself had betrayed her. Plus legal fees? A reporter asked about the discrimination charges still pending. Her lawyer quickly pulled her toward the waiting Lexus. As she climbed in, the camera caught the last symbol of her fall. Her HOA placard, scraped off and curling at the corners on the passenger seat, the pastel queen of willow crystal